Hello and welcome, and thank you so much for the team at Heart and Soul Revolution for having me. And thank you for being present as a participant in this beautiful, beautiful podcast. I'm going to tell you a bit about myself, then we'll take you into about a 20 to 30-minute journey and practice with myself. So, my name is Dr. Divi. I'm a family doctor, turned intuitive coach, turned spiritual teacher. I graduated from medical school about 31 years ago, and by accident, quote unquote, got into this work about 21 years ago. I spent the early parts of my career as a physician, and I'd gotten quite sick with everything from chronic pain to food allergies to depression, anxiety, recurrent infections, and so on. I have a TEDx talk out there if you're really dying to know the journey, but there's a bit there. And I got better with things like yoga, meditation, and working with my mind. Then for about a decade, my apologies, then for about a decade, I spent, well, a decade and a half. I spent the next decade and a half honing my intuitive skills, teaching intuition, and predominantly building an intuitive coaching business, which I was tremendously gifted and blessed with. And I had a 2-year wait list. It was a great problem if you're a coach. And then recently, in the last few years, I've closed that down, and I exclusively spiritual teach. I like to help people more than one-to-one, where I find a lot of magic occurs. And all the teaching that I do work on A Course in Miracles, intuition, and energy. So regardless of what you're here for, I guarantee you'll experience a shift, a healing, and a revolution. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. It means the world to me, and it means the team at the world to the team of the Heart and Soul Revolution. I know they put a lot of work into this event. So I'm not used to creating an event before. Normally I'm at my office, but we're having a snow day here in Vancouver, so my office internet is slow. So I'm at home right now doing this recording, and I created what's a shared screen so you can see what I'm going to teach you so I don't lose you. So give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. I don't typically do this. This is a new kind of use of technology for me. So if you see me fumbling a bit, it's just because it's something new to me. So give me a sec here. So I was putting today's presentation together. I was asking myself, what is it that I want to teach y'all? And I want you to all experience, hopefully, a shift from fear to love. That's essentially my intention, is to hopefully give you a shift from your day-to-day thoughts, which may be fear-based, to maybe your day-to-day thoughts that may be more love-based. And that's what I'm hoping to do for you. So that's a bit about what we're going to do together. So as an intuitive and as somebody who teaches A Course in Miracles, I want to bring you some awareness on 3 principles from A Course in Miracles. And hopefully by following along with me, you'll keep your mind here. And I'll jump back and forth between my shared screen and me. So 3 fundamental principles from A Course in Miracles. The fundamental first one is that you believe that you are separate from the I am, the divine love, the universe, God, source, spirit, whatever you want to think. So in the minute that you came into this physical body, wherever you left, call it God, spirit, source, the universe. I interchange those words a lot. In the moment that you came into the body was the manifestation of the ego and this idea that you're lacking in some ways and thereby separate in some ways. So that's the first belief I want you to sit with. The second principle from our Course in Miracles is a result of being in this physical body. I think my body is separate than yours, separate than Jill's, separate than Joe's, separate than Jack's. As a result of this perceived separation, I'm going to get around putting meaning on everything. So I'll put meaning on the fact that my winter gloves are sitting there. I'm going to put meaning on the fact that it's snowing here in Vancouver, which it never does. I'll put meaning on the fact that I didn't put makeup on today. I'll put meaning and meaning and meaning and meaning. And the majority of the meaning that I put on everything, if not all of the meaning, tends to be fear-based. You don't have makeup on, something's wrong with you. It's snowing outside, something's bad, right? The internet's not working at the office, something's bad. So we become what's called meaning-making machines. So that's the second principle I want to introduce you to. If you pull back the meaning, there's a lot of freedom that lies there. And the third thing is what's called attack thoughts. So remember, the first one is you're separate from God. So you're this little human, separate from the divine. Now you got to stay alive, stay safe. So what do? Oh, there's another body. There's another body. There's another body. That body's bigger. That body's smaller. That body took my toy. That body loves me. And we put all this meaning. And then the third principle is what's called attack thoughts. Attack thoughts is the idea that I'm busy comparing and judging myself to you and to everybody. Just think about it for a second. We all do it. We attack the body the moment we wake up and put on our pants. We're like, oh, I gained a pound. Oh, I lose a pound. Anything with dichotomy is an attack thought because it's ego-based. So we compare and judge as all part of the ego. And the last part that I want to introduce you to is the concept that most of us have heard of, that a miracle is simply a shift from a perception of fear to love. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share and then teach a little bit, and we'll go back here in a minute. So there's some really big principles I just taught you. Some of them you might be really well versed in, and some of them might be brand new to you. So I want to repeat them again. The very first principle, which is the underlying principle of what I teach, is you are not separate from the divine. But the moment you enter the physical body, you form what's called the ego thought system, which is fear-based. But at the same time, God's thought systems are in you. There's an expression from A Course in Miracles that says, thoughts do not leave their source. So if I am created by a creator, be it the universe, call it God, call it spirit, that thought system is in me. So have you ever had a really bad day, then out of nowhere, something shifts? You're like, oh, I feel better. How did that occur? I'm very visual. If you attend the Healing Lab, which I'm going to give you an option to attend with me. I like to think of it as the ego thought systems are over here, fear-based, and love thought systems are over here, love-based. And I'm the one who has access to the valve to go from here to here. I'm in charge of that. Got it? So I have to know that the ego is grabbing me. And later on in the presentation, I'm going to talk about the more you can see the ego grabbing you, the more you can pull back from the ego. I call it like pulling a bone away from a dog's mouth, because the ego is stuck in our nervous system and it so wants to prove it's right. So you have to gently pull that out. And when you pull out the dog bone from the ego's mouth, you have access more to spirit. So again, I'm going to use the word God, love, spirit, the divine interchangeably. But those thought systems are in you all the time. So the idea number one, that you're separate from God, is the first one. The second thing we talked about is because we have separate bodies, we'll put meaning on everything. So I put meaning on that Lululemon bag. I put meaning on the salad. I put meaning on the peanut butter. I put meaning on the lights. We put meaning on everything. And meaning, the more meaning you put on everything, the more the louder the ego thought system gets. Because if you ever talked to a friend of yours who had a breakup, or maybe this is you yourself, you go through a breakup and you're just shoveling coal into the fire. And then he did this, and then she said that, and then this happened, and then that happened, because we're meaning-making machines. If you pull back meaning, you have more freedom. So we talked about separation from the divine, meaning, and the third thing I want to teach you is this concept of attack thoughts. The ego, because it perceives separation, is busy attacking all day, every day. I spent 15, 20 years of my life with body dysmorphia, and I know that's super common. I'm too big, I'm too small, I'm too this, I'm too that, right? We're so addicted to the body. But remember, the ego loves the body. It loves past, it loves future. Spirit is not in the body, it's in the ethereal, and it's in the now. The ego is addicted to past, future, fight, flight, freeze. Spirit is now and love, and they're not the same, right? So anything where there's dichotomy, polarity, hot, cold, rich, poor, right, wrong, is the ego. Anything there's uni is the spirit. So number one, I perceive I'm separate from God, even though that's not true, because God's mind is in mine. The second one, I put meaning on everything, and the more I do that, the more the ego gets louder. And the third thing is attack thoughts. The more I attack, the more I build the ego. And the ego is not a bad part of us, it's just the part of us that forgot that we are spirit. And the last thing, a miracle is a shift of a perception from fear to love. Remember, if I had a column and I put ego, spirit, two different columns, the ego is past, future, fight, flight, freeze, body originated, and dichotomy, rich, poor, hot, cold. Spirit is now, it's love, it's joy, it's freedom, it's miracles, it's possibility, and it's not connected to the body at all. All right, cool. All right, let's go back to the slide. Okay, so I'm trying to present some stuff. Then at the end, I'll take you through processes. That's what I'm doing. So I'm just giving you some presentation of the thoughts that I work with. So when I get to the exercises, you'll be laughing. Go back to sharing my screen. See if I can do this. Maybe I'm a little techie. Okay, cool. We've talked about attack thoughts, talked about the ego, we talked about a miracle. And the ultimate question that all of my clients do is the question about whether or not you want to work with me or hang out with me in some of my classes is, do you want to work with your mind? And if you say no, I'll respect that to no tomorrow, but then I'm not your teacher. Cool? Because I'm here to help people work on their mind. The only way my physical body got better, the way I've helped a lot of people, whether it be from chronic illness or relationship havoc to bankruptcy, is by working on the mind. Everything starts in the mind. So more thoughts I can pull away from the ego, like a dog with a bone, I alluded to that earlier, because all the ego does is it grabs thought after thought after thought after thought and makes the ego thought system bigger. So you can't say a thought of fear without going down a rabbit hole and having a million thoughts go along with it. And the more we can let go of the ego and pull the bone from the dog's mouth, the more we have access to spirit. Let's introduce another couple things I want to teach you before I open it up to the actual practices. Our internal world is our external world. What a lot of us do is we focus on the external world. My husband did this. My bank account is this. My illness is this. We're focused on the external world. My boss is this. This is this. This is this. But the external world is always a reflection of the internal world. And if we only focus on the external world, we hit a plateau on our ability to create. By focusing on the internal world, we have access to everything. Our internal world is our connection to spirit, our creator, and so on. The internal world, we can hold an energy of unconditional love without spiritual bypassing, without ignoring how we're feeling, and by being truly present. Because as much as I look like a body, I have a part of me that's called the I am, the reality, the God self of who I am. And that part looks at everything through peace. And the ego is busy defending, putting meaning on, and attacking. We just talked about that. But the I am in me, which isn't born and doesn't die, will only look at things through peace. So now I'll go through the last part before I take you into some exercises. There is another reality that you can be present to that is seen, experienced by spirit. So if I walk into a room and have a fight with my husband, the ego is doing the fighting. And the I am spirit version of me is just watching. But because of free will, the I am will not overtake the ego because the I am just sits and waits. I have to be willing to take the dog away from the bone away from the dog. I have to get still and say, I am, what are you thinking this? But the I am is present all the time. The I am is present 24/7. All the work I do is about retraining your mind from the ego to spirit, from fear to love, to create miracles. The next thing I want you to remember, you are an infinite creator. You have the energy in you to go out into the world and create whatever you want. But because of free will, like I talked about yesterday or just a minute ago, you might have written down in January 1st that you want to create $1 million, but the ego doesn't want you to charge any money. And then it could be December 31st. You look back at your vision board and goes, it doesn't work. And it's not that it doesn't work. It's you haven't taken the bone away from the dog, the ego who doesn't think you deserve anything. Until you do that, until you work with your mind, you can do vision board after vision board after vision board, but you won't manifest it until you work with the ego and get more comfortable with spirit. So the reality of spirit is 24/7. Now let's talk about reality versus illusion, those two words a little bit. An illusion is anything that's temporary. A reality is always here. So my body, temporary. Sadness, anger, temporary. They're illusions. The reality is love. The reality is I am. The reality is spirit. A couple more concepts before I take you into some practices. Quote from A Course in Miracles, I am not a victim of the world I see. There's two worlds. There's the world of the ego, which is fear, but at the same time there's that world, there's the world of the divine. And the divine can give you everything you need to know, everything you need to think, everything you need to be in order to create it. We have to let go of the grip of the ego's thought system to access spirit. So it's there all the time. It's which one you want to look at. Each thought of fear can be shifted to love. We have to be willing to do the work. And the more we're willing to do the work, the more we step into spirit. All right, let's take you into practice. Enough babble talking. Let's have some fun. So let's go and close our eyes. And I want you to take a second, and I want you to think of an area in your life where you're holding a lot of fear. And maybe if you have a pen and paper, just open your eyes gently and just write down 3 or 4 of those thoughts that are fear-based. Maybe there's not enough money. Maybe there's not enough time. Maybe the world is just always really busy and challenging. Just scribble down those fears and breathe. Now, once you scribble down those fears, go and close your eyes and take 10, 20, 30 slow breaths. With your eyes closed, take yourself into a beautiful place in nature. This may be a place you visit often or a place from fairy tales. The most important thing about this place is that you feel safe and comfortable. Comfortable and safe. And breathe. Take an inhale and exhale. Belly rises and belly falls. Look around this place and notice everything about it. Notice the colors. Smell the aromas. Feel the earth under your feet in your safe and comfortable place as you breathe. Out of the corner of your eye, you see your wise guides, your higher self. Welcome them in. You might see them. You might sense them. You might know they're there. And just keep breathing. Now behind your wise guide, you have what's called your ancestors. Deceased loved ones that you may have known or not known. Welcome them in. And behind them, you have the archangel realm. This might be Archangel Michael, Raphael, Gabriel. It also includes all those energies you believe in, like Buddha, Sai Baba, Lord Krishna, Jesus Christ. Whoever you breathe in, they're believing, there you go, bring them in. Your mind might think you're making it up, but you're not. These energies of love have been with you lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And lastly, welcome in the Divine Mother. This might be Kuan Yin, or Isis, or Mother Mary. Maybe Goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of money. Welcome her in. And just breathe. Now get your body safe and comfortable. Comfortable and safe as you breathe. Now welcome one of the wise guides to walk over to you as you breathe. And you might notice they have a platter there. On the platter, put any fear or worry you have. And while you're putting the fear or worry, imagine yourself also putting every attack thought. I can't do that. I'm not enough. They won't pay that. The world's out to get me. I'm the wrong body size. Put all those tacks there. And just breathe. Now, in the last part of this meditation, I want you to welcome in, imagine, sense, see, or feel one of the Divine Mother's energies walking over. And she places one of her hands on your third eye and another on your heart. And she whispers to you, I can find peace instead of this thought. I can find peace instead of this. And see if, like the dog and the bone analogy, you're willing to give up that thought system, that attack thought, that fear, that control. The willingness to give it up is equal to the willingness, or the ability, I should say, for you to hear a new thought. So as I get quiet and your body gets still, be open to a new perception. Saying to yourself in your mind, I am not a victim of the world I see. As you place every one of those fear thoughts on the platter, as you feel the presence and the magnitude and the love of the Divine Mother, with her hand on your heart and another on your third eye. And you're saying, I can find peace instead of this. So keep repeating that in your mind. I can find peace instead of this. Just get quiet and see if a new thought filters up. See if a new thought enters. Be open to a new perception. As you breathe deeper and slower, quieter and easier, sit back and see what you receive. Staying here for another 5 breaths. I can find peace instead of this. Beautiful. Nice work. Taking a moment to stay here. And you may want to stay in this meditation longer, in which case you will just pause it right now and come back when you're ready. And then others of you will be ready to slowly start to come back into your body, back to this moment. Opening your eyes. Welcome. The idea of this practice is that there's a reality over here where new thoughts and perceptions can come in. And you might have been stuck over here in fear-based, and hopefully you had a little bit of a shift. And that shift in perception creates a miracle in the internal realm. And then slowly, quickly, you see it in the external realm. External reflects the internal. I would love to hear how this meditation was, so feel free to drop me an email. My website is drdivi.com. Remembering a miracle is a shift from fear to love. You have to be willing to drop that ego thought system like a bone to the dog, to just drop it. I don't want to hold on to that. And surrender to our guides for a new way to think. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for having me. If you want to take this further, I know that in this podcast revolution that they're doing, we have the option of gifting you something. So I'm gifting access to some of my classes where I teach and also do live Q&A and coaching. So I would love to have you there. It was so nice to meet you, and feel free to drop me an email or a text or a message to my website, drdivi.com. just let me know how this goes. I'm sending you so much love. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.